And then there is this weird compulsion that some people have to just like, this thing came to me and I feel like I'm going to put it out there. I don't know. And it's like, sometimes I write something and I listen back to it and I'm like, do I really want people to know this?
Amy Petty is a classically trained singer whose heart beats rock and roll, and she will be performing at the Museum Tunes concert series on July 1st here at the Saginaw Art Museum Gardens. Amy began her career in opera, singing with the Michigan Opera Theater, Meadowbrook Theater, and symphonies across the state. She began writing her own brand of rock-infused folk when she realized she wanted to do more than perform. She wanted to create. With 3 critically acclaimed albums of original music under her belt, Amy has made a name for herself as a force, musically and vocally. Known across the country for her powerful vocals, she has sang her original songs everywhere from Carnegie Hall to small house concerts in Seattle. Amy Petty, welcome to the Temple Arts Podcast. We are so excited to have you here on the show, and even more excited to have you playing during the Patricia A. Wolfram Museum Tunes concert on July 1st at the Saginaw Art Museum Gardens. We are just very excited to introduce your voice and your music and your band to all the community members that come to the gardens. But wanted to chat a little bit about your background, how you got into music, and some of the creative process that you go through in writing songs and what it's like to be a songwriter. So maybe you can help us start at the top, about where your love for music came from, maybe where it started, if there was a particular moment or a series of moments that kicked things off in your life with relationship to music.
Well, yeah, thanks for inviting me to do this. I love this kind of thing. So thank you. And yeah, you know, I've always been a musician. I know when I was very young, I knew that I was a musician. I discovered very early on that I had a connection to music and to like the concept of music that people around me didn't seem to have. I could see that what I recognize now is just being a music nerd was like this like desire and compulsion to like analyze music. I didn't know that that's what I was doing at the time, but it was just like music wasn't something that happened in the background or it was just like, oh, that's a cute little whatever, and then you forget about it. It was like I was listening intently all the time. And so, of course, I recognize now that it was just so clear my entire life that I was going to be a musician. And so, and I wasn't like surrounded by musicians. I didn't have other musicians in my family. So, but I was very, very lucky in my life to have people who recognized that there was a little, musician inside of me that just needed some guidance and needed permission to explore that. And music teachers and people in, I was in a fife and drum corps, which talk about full music nerdity when you're in high school, but it was so much fun. I met the greatest people, but I learned a lot about music and I had a lot of great mentorship. And then as a singer, just people coming up alongside of me and saying, learn this thing. I know it's going to be useful to you. People who went out of their way to give me lessons when I could not afford them in my life and guidance. And it was just, I was very, very blessed and lucky in my life. And here I am. And it's all I've ever done and known, for better or for worse.
You have a background in your biography. It indicates that you started singing with the Michigan Opera Theater
Yeah.
as part of the start to your career. What you're describing sort of before that, in terms of the start of your music, that's a little bit of a big jump from,
Yeah.
learning to becoming involved with the Michigan Opera Theater.
Mhm.
Can you describe some of the steps along the way to your participation in that?
Yeah. I think that was a big deal to me, was that I didn't know what I could do. Like I knew what I enjoyed. I knew that, I would try things, be like, oh, well, I'm pretty good at that. Oh, I can kind of pick out a melody on a piano, or yeah, I can hold a tune when I'm singing. but it was people recognizing in me that there was something that I could maybe do. And I had a voice teacher when I was in high school. I think I was a senior in high school. And she said, I know you like singing, whatever's on the radio. And she's like, but I really want you to give opera a try, like just something that feels like classical in nature. And I was like, well, I don't even think I like opera. And she's like, well, you don't know because you've never sang it before. She said, give it a try. And when I did, I was able to do it. Like it was a thing that I could do. And I just kind of had a realization. I was like, and I think this is true for everybody. If you can make that sound, then you probably should, because it's not everybody can. And this is not, you know, it's a it's a more rare thing to be able to use your body to be an instrument in that way. And so I just pursued it. Like once I realized I could do it, I was like, well, maybe that is kind of fun and maybe that is kind of an interesting direction to go. And I decided, that was my senior year in high school. So I had to decide what to do in college. And I decided to go to Oakland University. They had a great teacher there, a really small but good, a robust little program. And I was like, yeah, let's see what we can do here. And so I sang opera at Oakland University. And luckily it was close enough to Detroit where I could go and put some of that training to actual real world use and sing with the Michigan Opera Company, which was it was just amazing. It's the Detroit Opera Company now. And yeah, it was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life going up and singing with these voices that just, will knock you over with their power. It was amazing and I really loved it. Really good experience for me.
Transitioning a little bit, when you're singing opera, I imagine for the most part you're not writing those operas. You're performing those operas. Sort of something that is handed to you, handed something that's handed to you to read or interpret. At some point, you started writing your own music. Is that something that you had been doing all along, or is there a moment where you decided to put some effort into making your own sound and you're writing your own words and putting those things together?
Yeah, that was a big moment for me was realizing how, and I honestly don't know when this happened, and there's no one moment where it happened. I had a really amazing group of friends for my 21st birthday. They bought me my first guitar, and it was like a classical guitar. We didn't know there was a difference. They just found a guitar they could afford and they handed it to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best guitar that's ever existed." And it was such a like this like it was like one of the most loving things that people have ever done for me. And I was learning how to play it and I realized that there was this other thing that I could do, and I enjoyed it so much, and it just kind of became a thing that you're right. It was, do I want to spend my life only interpreting some ancient guy's song in an opera that he wrote, you know, centuries ago? Or maybe do I have my own thing that I'm supposed to be putting out into the world? I realized, if there's music inside of you, it dies with you if you don't put it out into the world. And like so what, who cares, I guess, on some level, except that also you don't, what if Mozart had done the same, And not that I'm
Hmm.
comparing
Hmm.
myself to Mozart, but for heaven's sake, who knows if that thing that's in you is going to make a difference to anybody in the world. And that really just like that kind of haunted me until I realized, oh, I think I can do whatever I want in this world. I don't have to follow any particular rules. There are particular rules, or at least there were at the time. If you're in the classical world, like you stay in the classical world. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't think I can be so constrained. And that was when I
Hmm.
started writing and just trying to find that thing within me. And it was there, and it has really kind of taken over my life. And it was a big pivot in many ways, but I take my classical training with me everywhere I go, and it really inspires everything that comes out of me. So it's this very strange, you know, mix and little smushed up ball of all of these things that have come together to create the music that is in me.
It's interesting how you describe the use of that background. I had a instructor once who said, you know, nothing is wasted. You know, whatever
Yeah.
experience you have, nothing is wasted. And at the same time, it sounds like it takes a bit of a act of courage to pivot like that, to change directions, especially when you've been used to doing things a particular way, or there's a comfort um, in the work that you're in or the
Yes.
environment that you're in. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Man, yes. So, yeah, the thing about the classical, okay, there is something about like, hey, you are the perfect person for this role. Like I just saw the Detroit Opera's interpretation of Così fan tutte, Mozart's Così fan tutte. And the reason I wanted to see it so badly was because that was a role that I had done when I was younger, was the role of Fiordaligi. And I'm like, to this day, I still think that's my role. Like that is the role that that if somebody's doing that, I'm like, well, that's the role that I would be performing. And I've got a bunch of those in my head. That's a role that I would do. That's a role that I would do. So what that means is if a company is doing that opera and they want me to do it, they call me and they say, "Do you want to do it?" And I'm like, "Yes, I already know it." And then I go and then I sing it, and there is my career. And so there's something it's just kind of laid out before you. And not that it's easy. Oh my goodness, it's not easy. And there are a lot of people who want that role, a lot of people who want to be in that position. But at least there's like a structure, and I sure do like structure, and that's kind of nice. It is a completely different animal to be an independent songwriter who's putting out your own. So, I mean, who knows if the craziness that's coming out of your mouth and these weird notes that you're deciding to sing and this strange poetic thing that has come to your mind out of nowhere, who knows where it came from, is going to resonate at all. And so it is a leap of faith to put it out there. You could be completely humiliating yourself, or you could be completely changing someone's life. You have no idea. And so, yeah, it has been a thing that I think about nearly every single day, and I have thought about it every day for my whole life. And yeah, you have to do a little of both. You have to take yourself very seriously and completely not take yourself seriously at all at the same time.
That's an interesting thought that, you know, what you're describing, especially with um, the advent of the sharing of music and streaming of music, and so many people making music. There's still something of uncertainty about how a song will take off or not take off, or whether it's quote unquote good or not.
Right.
But it sounds like, you know, in your case, you you're making songs as much for others as for yourself, and sort of a combination of those things where
Yeah.
you're trying to reach people, but not necessarily writing the songs for that
Yes.
purpose, right?
That's a really good point too, because if you're writing I mean, there's a whole thing, there's a whole industry about writing things that people want to hear. And that's fine. Like that's good. That's not, there's nothing bad about that. That's good. That's why people can make a living in music. And then there is this weird compulsion that some people have to just like, this thing came to me and I feel like I'm going to put it out there. I don't know. And it's like, sometimes I write something and I listen back to it and I'm like, do I really want people to know this? I know like the song, I appreciate it because it kind of like becomes like one of your children at some point. But you don't want to stuff it down, but you also are like, gosh, this is coming right from the depths of who I am. Like, is this really for everybody or is this just for me? So, yeah, it's a really strange little line to walk. And I do sometimes, write songs where like they're specifically for a purpose. Like somebody will say, "Hey, we need a song that does this, this, and this. Can you write it?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I write it and those are good too. Like that's great. And maybe they pay a bill or, it's kind of fun to hear it in a movie or whatever it's supposed to be. Like that's cool too. But yeah, music does a lot of stuff and it lives in a lot of different places in this world and in our spirits too. It's very strange how that, and I'm still figuring it all out as I'm, getting older day by day here.
Well, one interesting thing that we like at the Saginaw Art Museum and Gardens about the Museum Tunes concert series is the way that music is used and art broadly is used to bring people together. In your case, you're bringing other musicians into collaboration, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about what it's like to work with other musicians and the impact being sort of the songwriter or the lyricist has in that process of communicating with the other musicians, and how that process might work for you and the people that you work with.
Sure. Oh my gosh. I had 500 things that came into my head while you were saying that. There's so many things to say about that. I will say, so once I made the transition from really being mostly or exclusively classical music into becoming a singer-songwriter, I have been almost exclusively a solo act. So I go out there, just me and my guitar. I don't have to worry about teaching that to anybody. I just go,
Mm.
if I want to take it a different tempo, I take it whatever tempo I want. I don't have to wait about anybody else showing up on time. We don't have to rehearse. Like it's like, but I didn't realize those things until I started working with a band. I didn't think I was going to enjoy working with a band. I think I didn't realize how many control issues I might have in this world until I started working with a band. The best thing that has happened for me, though, is that I met the greatest musicians on the planet. And for some reason, they all decided to live in Saginaw. And I don't know why that is. I have lived all over the place. Really, really incredible. I've lived in Nashville. I've lived in Boston or just outside of Boston. I've lived down in Detroit. And my favorite musicians live here in Saginaw, which is the exact opposite of what I thought I was going to find when I moved here. And so I will say working with these guys is it's a challenge in that I have to let go of me thinking that I'm right about everything all the time because what I have discovered is that my ideas are pretty good and it's a good place to start. But okay, so for example, Donnie Brown, he's my drummer, one of my favorite drummers on the whole planet. He is brilliant and he's got great ideas. Why in the world would I not want to listen to what he has to say? What do I know about drumming? I know a little bit about drumming, but I would much rather take his word for something than assume that I know what's best and letting him have that, freedom to do something cool. And of course, then he sings on top of it and he sings the high harmony over my high voice, which is, still blows my mind to this day, but he's amazing in that way. Same, Joe Balbaugh is going to be playing bass with me. He is amazing. I just realized too that he's one of the greatest guitar players that I know, and I just thought he was a bass player, and no, he has to be amazing at guitar too. And then uh I mean, I have a really amazing Mike Robertson is coming. He's going to play some guitar with me. He is amazing. So, I mean, all of these guys, they're just really incredible. And here's somebody said this to me a very long time ago, and I think about it almost every day. Don't ever be afraid to be the least talented person in the room. And that is what we all live by. Like whenever we all walk into the room, we are all the least talented person in that room. And that is why we can make such really amazing music. And so we live by that, and I try to live my whole life by that. And hopefully it comes across in the music, not because we think it's better than anything else out there, but because at least it's honest and it is real and it's sincere and it comes from a place of humility and hopefully people can connect to that.
So, you know, you've dropped a whole lot of nuggets of wisdom on all of our listeners today. And I want to just, I'm a little curious, as cheesy as this might sound, or as corny as it might sound. Um, is there a piece of advice that you would have given your younger self? Considering the arc of your talent and career to date so far, is there something that you would have wanted your younger self to know?
Yes, there is. I don't know that my younger self could have heard this advice, but this is what I wish I would have known earlier. And it's one of the reasons why I'm working with major chords for minors now. It's one of the reasons why I want to work with major chords. And it's for this reason right here. I wish I hadn't needed permission from anybody to be great at what I'm doing, at who I am. I wish I hadn't felt like I needed somebody to tell me it was okay for me to do that. I always felt that way. To this day, I still kind of feel that way. Feel like I need to ask somebody, am I allowed to do this? Am I really allowed to sing that loud? Am I allowed to play this chord? Like really but it's like maybe this chord doesn't have all the like it's not like traditional chord. Am I allowed to do that? Like I wish I knew that I could do whatever I want. Like I can do anything I want. And at this point, I'm starting to see that I can do whatever I want and that people are almost expecting me to do whatever I want and that people are excited to see what I'm going to do next creatively because like maybe it gives them some kind of a direction or but man, I think I wasted a lot of time, or maybe not wasted time, but I'm wondering what could have been had I just done what I knew I could do without feeling like I was breaking some rule that didn't exist. So I think that's it. If that's advice, I'm not sure, but I want to at least equip the next generation of kids and say, you don't have to ask me if you want to do that, do it. It might, yeah, I don't know how it's going to sound, but oh my goodness, do it.
Well, Amy Petty, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. We are looking forward to hearing your songs and your voice and the band in the Saginaw Art Museum and Gardens. It is going to just be a beautiful evening, and we're so grateful that you will be able to have a hometown show here. Appreciate all the wisdom and background that you've given us on the podcast, and looking forward to July 1st.
I can't wait. Thank you. And it really is, feels like a very rare thing for me to do to bring my own original music to Saginaw. I can't wait. So thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for listening to the Temple Arts Podcast. Please consider subscribing to the podcast and making a donation to the arts through saginawartmuseum.org or templetheater.com. This will allow us to continue to bring enriching program to Saginaw and beyond.